Hey everybody, this is, well, I suppose it's a first. I lost my very first friend due to white people behaving badly in the aftermath of the potential probable decision via Roe v. Wade. I'm going to be doing hot takes on this very soon, and in actuality, there's a whole list of hot takes that I'm going to be doing, both on the sort of the practicalities of Roe v. Wade and how that ties into the work that we do at Lace on Race, but it also ties into my personal life. This is or was a personal friend. He posted something up on his page, and I'm going to be careful not to say his name. To make it easy, I'm just going to call him John, because it's really hard to try to not say a name. Although I don't know why I'm protecting the not so innocent, because in a afternoon of bad behavior where basically people denied and minimized and were contemptuous of Black and brown people in the name of standing with us, and that's important for later. John completely deleted the post, including the work that I had done for over 4 hours. I had said that I was going to give a generalized account, paraphrasing other people's words, but using my own words verbatim. He knows that I work for Lace on Race. He knows that the work that I did was considered. Deleting is violence, y'all. That's why we don't do it at Lace on Race. This ties into another reason that Lace on Race was formed. The North Star, lessening and mitigating the harm endured by Black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy. Well, guess what, y'all? That actually also includes me. Let me tell you something that happened during the 2016 elections. I had a friend, I'm going to call her Jane, and her beloved, who I will call Bill. Jane and Bill. I had been talking about race. This was actually before I had pressed the button for Lace on Race. This was 1.5 years before Lace on Race was anything. I wasn't even writing for the 2 online publications I was writing for in 2017. But I had said something, and he came back and white-splained, and I basically said, not on my watch. And it went back and forth for a while, and then Bill completely erased a very long subthread. Later on, I was invited back into their lives, but only if I apologized. I did. He doubled down. So much for appeasement. But let's come back to this. We're going to see this a lot. We saw it in 2020. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say it again in another hot take, but I think it's really important to say it right here, right now, in the moment when I found out that John erased the entire post, deleted the entire post. I don't even know the post that he was hanging it on. I can't find it because it's gone forever. But here's the thing. Most of my dealings are not with conservatives. 20 years ago, that was somewhat true. I was more ensconced in conservative evangelical thought. And because of that, I was dealing with some people who were to the right of me on the spectrum, but theologically we met at enough levels. That unraveled in 2016 too. And in fact, one of my mentors told me to grow up. Another reason Lace on Race was formed. Because there's growing up and there's growing cynical. There's growing up and there's making excuses and dissembling. That's another hot take for another day. I want to stay on this. For the most part, I deal with progressives. And for the last 15 months, the people who have done the most damage or attempted to do the most damage to Lace on Race as an organization and to me as a person, Mark Sandlin, the Christian left, Jim and Kate, all place themselves firmly on the progressive end of the spectrum. And their words are great. I mean, one reason that I got in trouble with Jim and Kate was over a meme that I posted up without attribution because there was no name on it. And I'm still not sure that Jim wrote it, but he says he did. And so there was all that before everything went sideways. But the point is that I don't deal with MAGA hats. I don't. I deal with people who are on the progressive end of the spectrum, some of whom are to the left of Dems. And wow! It's amazing the bad behavior that you get, including on my page over the last 48 hours with the Roe v. Wade. People telling me how to do my job. People telling me what kind candor is. People coming on and basically saying I'm bullying someone that I've only spoken to once and who gave me permission to speak to them in my own metaphorical living room. We're going to talk about all of this because it's important if we are going to do this work well and with durability and with reliability for the long haul. We have got to get all of this under our belt. One of the things that I said in that post that got unceremoniously deleted by John was that white people have never had to really viscerally deal with the effects of them getting all up in arms about something, that basically going super activated and having unbridled self-expression is a privilege that white people have, particularly about issues that they know will be less of an issue for them at best, not an issue at all at worst. They can let it fly. And they think, or they want to think, or they tell themselves that it is in service to the cause and in service to the people they say they stand for and with. Hell no. It is for their own self-aggrandizement. It is for their own self-service. So that they can get a dopamine hit and they can feel better about themselves. We're going to talk about this more because, as most of you know, I care less what you do because I have gotten a lot of pings. What to do, Lace? What to do? What to do? We'll walk this through. It's only been 48 hours and we don't necessarily know how everything is going to shake down. But you know what I'm going to say. Who you are when you do whatever it is you do. And how you do it. And how you model an ethos and a praxis and a conviction that you have to first articulate for yourself. Interior work does indeed drive exterior praxis. I'm going to try to remember the last thing that I said on there, because there was a man that said, well, you lost me at all white people. I didn't say all white people, but yeah, all white people are privileged in that they can say more, have unbridled self-expression, and show contempt, because that was the point of the whole meme, showing contempt for women who didn't vote the way we wanted them to. And I suggested and asserted that it is possible to do effective racial justice work without contempt, without one-upsmanship, without standing above and apart. And they said that they didn't quite agree with that. Okay, you don't agree with it. You don't agree with it. But don't say that you stand with us. I'm thinking about the Black Spring of 2020, and I live Lemon Grove, North Encanto, and one city over, kind of east by northeast, is La Mesa. And during the Black Spring, there was a lot of havoc that happened on Spring Street in La Mesa. 2 banks were burned down, and of course, it was Black people that were blamed, just like Black people were blamed for a lot of the mayhem nationwide. And I'm not just talking verbal mayhem, I'm talking physical mayhem. And of course, we were blamed for it. And then it turned out that there were provocateurs of 2 stripes. One that wanted to, bring bad juju to the movement itself because they knew that the first thing the media was going to do was to blame us. But then there were others whose, how do I say it? Whose hearts were pretty good. But in their zealousness, in their zeal, in their unbridled self-expression, wound up harming the movement. I'm going to go now because even though it's nighttime, It's pretty hot in this cabin of the Santa Fe, and I want to be able to plug in my laptop so I can write a bit more. But for now, my visceral reaction when I looked and I saw that John had deleted the post was, this is what our friends do to us. Again, no MAGA hats, no Proud Boys. No, let's go, Brandon. These are the people who say they're our friends. But when we tell them what we need from them, they won't do it. I'm seeing this in sharp relief here, but we also saw it on the boards today. Go and look at some of the posts. Rule number 1 of Racial Justice Fight Club is that you listen to us and you take us seriously and you honor our perspectives. And then if you ask, what can I do? You do it when we tell you. And you wait until you do something of your own, because what you're doing from your limited perspective may well be counterproductive or even detrimental to the cause you say you're down for. This is so important. It took 50 years to potentially, probably, overturn Roe v. Wade. And let me tell you about the people who wanted to overturn it. You want to talk about playing the long game. You know how Harvard Business Review has case studies of corporations, both as, best practices, case studies, and cautionary tales? I got to tell you, when you look at the erosion of rights and autonomy over the last 50 years, from the moment Roe v. Wade was the law of the land up until the present day, we are talking not only a determined opposition, but a disciplined one who knew how to play a long game, that accepted seeming losses and also seeming insignificant wins so that they could get to this point in 2022. We don't know how to do that. And we need to. We should be playing the long game even when we think that we are in the majority, when we think that things are settled. And like I said in the hot take of 2 days ago, nothing is settled. If Roe v. Wade is not settled, neither is the 1964 Civil Rights Act, neither is Brown v. Board, neither is fair housing. So yes, this is not a henny penny moment. But we also can't treat this like a scrum. If there is any time for us to learn how to not be microwaves, not be walks, not be a flash in the pan and flame out, but at the same time, not be such a slow cooker that you don't know how to move at all. We need to learn how to be hot pots. We need to learn how to be hot pots, and we need to be ingredients of a stew that marginalized people make. We need to learn how to not be meatloaf. You'll do anything for love. You'll do anything for us. But you won't do that. What would it look like if your yes were really your yes, and black and brown and marginalized people could actually trust that your yes is yes? What if you say ride or die and you began to live that out? We're going to talk about all of this. But right now, this is a visceral reaction to some deep, deep insult and pain that I feel from a man I thought was my friend. And now, that's totally up for reevaluation. But it's not because his actions were unsurprising. They were disappointing. I was disappointed. I will stop short of calling him a disappointment, because that's speaking to his humanity. But I can speak to his behavior, and that's disappointing behavior. That's withdrawal times 20, and that is a losing strategy. Losing strategies are by definition white supremacist. By definition. Retaliation, withdrawal, offending from the victim position, contempt. All ripped out of the white supremacist playbook. We need to be learning from a different playbook. We need to be new people, doing new things in new ways. We need to be showing them how it's done, how to be able to be effective without contempt, how to go hard without humiliation, how to succor without losing strategies. This is not just about the fight. We need to give ourselves a real idea that perhaps we're going to be able to lessen and mitigate some of it, but it took 50 years to get here. The vast majority of us might be doddering or dead before we are completely able to lessen and mitigate the harm of what is probably going to happen in the Supreme Court. That does not mean that we do it badly. It means the onus is on us to do it better. We're going to talk about that in another hot take, but wow, I'm not going to use your name, John. But that was violent. And as someone who has lived through white violence and white adjacent violence and white people's silence in the face of that violence, I know what pain looks like. I know what harm and violence looks like. And now I'm going to call a thing a thing. You harmed me. You hurt me. You erased hours of my work that I was going to use for my own. You completely devalued me. Not just as a professional, but as a friend. You don't do that to your friends. And if you were, you might have wanted to give me a heads up. You might want to take some screenshots because I'm going to take it down. That's what friends do to each other. I don't want to keep it up because my friends are getting a little hot, but I want you to be able to have it. Just make sure that you don't use our names. Paraphrase, which I said I was going to do anyway. But at the end of the day, he used his power to marginalize a woman he says he cares for. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Do not harm people you say you love and stand in solidarity with. Rule number 2, Fight Club for racial justice. Be the person you say you want to be all the time. And if there's daylight between the person you say you want to be and the person you are, stick around. We're going to be talking about congruence. Yeah, and authenticity. In the last 15 months, again, no red MAGA hats. Nah. These are people who on paper look really good. John. But who are willing to kick black women in the teeth. And I'll say this here too. Even if it's only one, even if you love the other millions of us, but you pick one to harm, that's still supremacy. That's still supremacy. John. I see you just messaged me. John. It was cowardly and it was mean. And it was white supremacist and racist. And full of misogynoir. Own that. Be the person you say you are, and be the person everyone on your page says they are. Because you just proved the opposite. You don't harm people you say you care about. I'm actually going to open this up. Yeah, I'll paraphrase because I don't have permission to say it verbatim. Yeah, he said an hour before that he'd be deleting it, and then he did, and he was thinking that the point of the post was being lost, and that because he does not have a uterus, that it was inappropriate for him to hold a position. Okay, plausible deniability. It was still violent. And if you really wanted me to know, you could have done just what you did right now, which is send me a private message giving me a warning. You didn't. How we treat each other as we walk through social justice and racial justice is every bit important as anything we do. I've been having this conversation with someone in terms of their own outside paid consultancy work. Who you are as you do the work is at least, it's more important than any banner you hold in any presentation that you give, than any video that you do. That's what we do at Lace on Race. The relational ethics piece of Lace on Race didn't start in 2018. I'll talk about that later. It started because of people behaving badly and people saying that they wanted to do work, but using every single losing strategy and beating up the people they said they were there to serve, including me, but not only me. But like I said earlier this month, the reset starts now. We have an amazing opportunity to do better than we did in the Black Spring, for white people to learn what reliability looks like, for white people to learn how to not do violence in our names. And supposedly, oh my gosh, I think the Santa Fe got tired of, I have to figure out how to open the door. There we go. There we are. The Santa Fe got a little bit tired of waiting for me. I think it only works for 10 minutes and then the lights go out. So I'm going to go. But the point is that we need to do it better than we did in 2020. White people need to do better. And now that it's not just us, now that white people feel that they have skin in the game, maybe they'll be there for the long haul. But it doesn't matter if you're there for the long haul if you do it badly and if you cause violence, even in the name of a social good. Hear that again. If you cause violence, even in the name of a social good, it's still violence. And I don't care how blue the hat is you're wearing. More later and more hot takes. I love you all. If you like what you're hearing, surf on over to the page or to laceonrace.com. If you want to keep commentary like this coming, consider supporting us. We are funded almost exclusively by community, and we have a small but real budget. Part of what you pay for is Costco soda, but it also funds community partnerships. It serves the Mental and Emotional Health Fund, and it keeps Lace on Race coming to you, giving you original content and some of the best aggregated content on the web. I love you. I love you all. But I hold no quarter. And one of the things that we're going to have to learn how to do, both white people and people of color, is to love fully and completely with Hesed hearts, but with full 100% accountability and taking no carve-outs or caveats as to how to do this work well, ethically, morally, and effectively. Again, if you like what you're seeing, heart. We're going to talk about the amendment to the guidelines in terms of liking and hearting. Like, heart, share, subscribe on all platforms, because this will be up on all platforms. Share far and wide. Consider supporting us financially, and I am going to do a formal Lace on Race, not really a hot take, but I'm going to shake you down for money, including the new followers that we've gotten. The only way we can keep doing this is if white people and people of color as well decide that their ride or die stops at their pocketbooks. Everyone keeps asking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Let's talk about ride or die in another hot take. I love ya.